All right, so I let the chassis dry overnight after power washing and spent a little time cleaning the shop up and blowing off all the dust and dirt and grime. And I didn't show the whole process of cleaning this. It's still not perfectly clean, but it's close enough. It takes a long time. There's a lot of chipping and grinding and sanding and screwdriver and a hammer and chipping gunk off and crud and rust and everything. If I showed all that, these videos would be 3 hours long. So let's just say there's a lot of chipping and cleaning that has to happen. So my project now is to get this, before I get the floors put in, I got to get this Napoleon's cap sorted out. Let me bring you over here and I'll show you a little more detail what we're up against. Alright, so you see this right here. That's supposed to look more like this over here. So it's not only rotted here, but it's rotted up underneath. Now I did a little research and digging, and turns out this is called the frame head. And you can get all these pieces. I could get this whole piece, Napoleon's cap, for $55, and maybe I should and just cut it here and scab this piece in, because this is pretty elaborate. But the other side is fine. So I don't want to spend $55 just for this piece. So I'm just going to put a piece here. It'll come down here. It'll give me a nice shelf. I'll put a piece here for a nice shelf to rest the pan on. Because the underneath here, let me get a light so you guys can see something. I'm trying to get better with the lighting. You see under here, this cover right here, this whole piece of metal is just to keep the water up out of all that stuff up there, the brake master cylinder on the other side and whatnot. So I still gotta clean the whole underside of this. I was gonna put it out in the driveway, pick up the front end with my tractor bucket and just power wash the bottom and then paint it, and then I'll put some, after the pans are in, I'll put some, I like to use bar and chain oil on the underside of cars. It's the best rust preventer, because again, I want to drive this car year round. We'll get rid of all this flaking, undercoating. Undercoating is the devil. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut this right here, and then I'll just weld a piece in from that cut over to here, maybe like a square. It won't be exactly right under here, but I'm not going for, show winner here. I'm going for sturdy car. So, I'll get some rust cutter up in there before I weld it in. And then that'll give me a base if I go here, here, maybe around that hole, so that hole stays. And then I'll build off of that base. Whenever I'm faced with a situation like this, you got to start somewhere. You got to start with one piece. I like to start with the bottom. Every good house starts with a foundation. So we'll have a base under here. That'll give me the lip, this lip right here, a nice clean lip to put that on. And then I'll make a piece to go here. And I got to remember there's like a plate that it's threaded that you got to put in there that these bolts screw into. And I don't have a new one. I have the old one. I wonder if I should get a new one and new bolts. And because if I remember, let me dig it out of my parts bin over here, because I remember that was pretty raunchy. I mean, it came right out when I was trying to take these bolts out. Let me dig that out. Okay, here's the old one. So that piece right there that accepts the bolts would be in there, in that hole. So I don't know how though. So these are the new bolts I got. That came with the body bolt kit. I ordered them a long time ago. So these are to replace these rusty bolts. I really should have gotten, this side must have been over here. Something like that. I don't know. Let me look on the other side and see where this goes. I mean, that came out of the other side, so maybe you can. Is that up here? It must be up here. I'll have to go back and look at some footage. That just must be sitting up here. So it doesn't go in there, so that just means as long as I have the holes, let me put you guys down and I'll show you how this works. Okay, yeah, so it goes up top here like this, and you just tighten the body down. This is up in the body. I'm going to look at the footage. This must go up. There must be a flat piece of the body that goes on that, and then this is just like, bottom line is I don't need to get these inside of here so I can continue today. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so upon further investigation, this little nut plate right here, I'm calling it, no one's ever seen or heard of, because that's encapsulated inside of the firewall. The lower corners of my firewall was so bad they just ripped right out. So I'm gonna have to get a new firewall, and then these guys are gonna be in there, and then my new body bolts will go right up into them. So what it means for this is I just got to keep those holes in the same place, so it's actually much easier. So let's get on with that. All right, I got a plan. I'm going to cut right here and right there. I'll just notch off that piece of the replacement piece. So it's up over my head. I don't know how I'm going to film it. I'm just going to zip it off and then I'll show you guys what it looks like in there. Okay. Now I've got this steel plate here I had left over from, I don't know, many other projects. So I'm going to cut a piece 3 by 12 and I'm going to leave this end a little long, and I'll just trim it on the car. So well, that edge isn't very good, but clean it up a little. I don't have a fancy bandsaw, metal cutting bandsaw. I have a bandsaw, but it's got a wood blade on it. So cut-off wheel it is. See, I cleaned it up. It's got rid of all the bad stuff. So we'll, I didn't cut as much off underneath, because I usually try to leave as much of the original metal as possible. And then I'll do an overlap weld. See, I like to get the groove cut straight as I can. That way you're not trying to cut through the whole piece and then your blade will just follow the groove. Need a welding table too. So this is 1/8 inch steel. Clean those edges up, and that's what we'll weld to the bottom of the car. So this is going to go right here. Okay. Let's Suppose I ought to drill a few holes in that so I can spot weld it down into that plate. Okay. See, I made that piece of spray foam. I stuck a rope on it. I'm gonna hang it from the rearview mirror. Like that, and then I'll zip that off. But that's not sitting flat enough yet. See why I left it long now. That's much better. Good and flat. I'll be able to drill these holes from the top. I just got to get that hole so I can zip off. Let me mark that. Did I do the right corner? Yeah, goes like that. We'll go there. We'll go there, and then my piece that comes up here will sit right on that, and then we'll get back to the right level here. So this can come down. So that it welds up nice. If I can get a couple of holes in that. Let me see. Okay, got you guys propped up on the emergency brake lever. I think I'm all ready to weld. We'll see, I guess, right? Got a good ground. Gas is turned on. 1/8 inch. I'm on about 50 for wire speed. Let's see how it goes. You have to watch from afar. This is not going to be fun. That light's messing me up. I was over there, I was like right in my eyes. And not loving it. Probably be all right here though. All right, let's try it under here. You know, sideways. This is the worst part of it. All right, I just gotta do it over here. Join two pieces of metal together. Okay, so now I've got a base. Ground it down pretty well, ground these welds down. I still got to grind underneath. That was the most miserable welding experience I've ever had, trying to weld over my head. But whatever, it's there. I'll get the grinder on it at some point. That'll be miserable as well. Now I've got to build this wall right here. Right here. I got to cut a piece that's going to go straight across here. It's going to fold down, I think. You see how there's two different heights right there? There's this and this. So I've got to put another piece of metal on top of that. And then it's got to come up over the top. And then I got to get these two holes in it. So, where's it going to end down here is the question. Am I going to cut that off? And it's going to come straight to there. On this side, you see how it's bumped out right there? I'm not sure why it's bumped out. I think that's just the floor pan goes over it. Maybe I'll set the floor pan in and see if, or just look under the floor pan and see if that little bump out needs to be there. Because if it does, let's see, this is the floor pan. And that's going to go right here. Yeah, that's going to go right here. So what does it matter? I'm pretty sure that doesn't matter. So we are going to just go straight across. What matters is that this thing becomes strong, and it's already 10 times stronger with this 1/8" steel under it. So we're going to come across here. And I think if I'm going to bend that steel, I'm going to have to heat it up. So I can nip that off right there. And then come across and weld that to there, and weld it to there, and weld it to here. I will bend that little piece in. Anyway, it's in my head. I guess I'll just show you guys. Alright, see how this goes. Trying to bend that 1/2 inch down. And then heat it first. This is what guys without brakes do. Still a little warm. I'll bend it into place on the car. I think it's going to be a little long if I remember correctly. So I'll cut this end here, and then we'll trim it after it's welded in. Could use some cutting oil though. Makes a world of difference. Alright, let's see how this goes. So I got it cut out. Put another hole in the end there. First fit. Again, we'll zip this off after it's welded in. I might have to just put a bar in there or something and just weld it all together. But I got to keep that hole clear. I'll have to drill through it because I've got a plate on the bottom now. So I've got to re-drill it anyway. let's see. Could zip that off just a bit right there. Give me a little more room to weld. And then I got to clean up all this here. Up here, around here. Clean all that up. And then we'll zip it in. All right. I think that's as good as it's going to get. It's got a little gap right here. We can fill that with weld. It's got a little gap. I cut a little too much off right here. We could fill that with weld. So I'll just zip in these spot welds, and then we'll stitch it all around it and call it good enough. I'm more of a grinder than a welder, I always say. We're pretty close to good enough. I mean, okay, I'm calling that good. Looks pretty good to me. Good enough. It's ground down well. I'm going to throw some primer and paint on it and call it done. So that's going to wrap this one up. Well, we didn't get as far as we wanted. I had to get this done. That took quite a bit of time. So on the next video, we'll get floor pans on. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching this one. We'll see you next time from White Pine Woods. So long. Good enough.